This is a problem that you've been talking about for a long time, but now this latest twist that this hate of this one particular group has spread to India has impacted elections there. Some of the stories are incredibly horrifying, and yet Facebook says it has stepped up efforts to combat this particular issue. Have you seen much progress?
I mean, Emily, the really sad thing is there has been no substantive progress on any of these issues, and there's a really basic reason why. Facebook and Google are in the business of first gathering our attention and then holding our attention while they show us lots of ads. And it turns out for most human beings, the things that stimulate our engagement and keep us active and emotionally focused on content are stuff that appeals to our lizard brain, so fear and outrage. So specifically, hate speech, disinformation, and conspiracy theories are amazingly constructive for the business model of these companies. And this is why they go out of their way to say things that make it sound like they care deeply, but to move very slowly on substantive change. There is no way that you can use moderators at the scale of Facebook or Google to protect users. You have to change the way that the algorithms work. You have to recognize that it's not a free speech issue we're talking about. It's an issue of amplification of the worst voices in society. And they have the means to do this, but for business reasons, they've chosen not to do so. They keep hoping that the fear and anger that we all feel over these things will pass. And the problem is there are just too many of these stories. And every day there's something new. And they just can't help themselves. They keep stepping in it time and again.
Meantime, this deepfake video issue seems to be getting under the skin of Congress. Nancy Pelosi hasn't returned a couple of calls from Mark Zuckerberg. Meantime, advertisers have spoofed Mark Zuckerberg in a deepfake video of him. Both of these videos, the one of Nancy Pelosi, the one of Mark Zuckerberg, Facebook has said, we're going to leave this up. We'll deprioritize it. We'll flag it. Is this a different issue than the misinformation that we're talking about?
No, it's part and parcel of the same thing, Emily. I mean, and it's completely ridiculous. Their position on this is indefensible. What we're talking about here with deepfakes is content that has literally no social purpose. Other than Princess Leia in the Star Wars movies, I don't think there's been a single constructive use of a deepfake. And what I don't understand is why Stanford University and other places continue to develop this stuff. To me, this is like human cloning. It's like really obviously a bad thing, and we should not be enabling people to develop it. We surely should not allow platforms to host it. Right now, the platforms are saying to Congress, hey, you should only regulate the people who create this stuff. That is nonsense. The platforms have to be responsible. If they do not have an incentive to get rid of the stuff, it will keep coming back. And the problem is, it's really hard, and they're going to have to put their best people on it. I view this, Emily, a little bit like chemical companies in the 50s, which were amazingly high growth, amazingly profitable, because they could pour their waste products, chromium and mercury and things like that, to pollute fresh water without any cost or consequences. And what's going on with Google and Facebook is they're creating toxic digital spills because they don't have to pay the cost of it, and it's way past time to make them pay. And yet they still do dumb stuff. Like Facebook this week introduced a product called Study, where they pay people in order to spy on them. And it's like, guys, get a grip, will you? I mean, that stuff is just totally inappropriate.
Roger, quite the metaphors there. An interesting comparison. All right, I got about a minute left, but I got to get your thoughts on Facebook potentially launching a new cryptocurrency next week. How optimistic are you about it?
What could possibly go wrong, Emily? I mean, cryptocurrencies have been fraught, right, with all kinds of issues. There have been fraud issues. There have been, coins that disappear. There have been all kinds of challenges in here. And I want to believe that the people at Facebook are smarter than the people who've done crypto elsewhere. But this company needs another regulatory morass like it needs a hole in the head. And I just think that their inability to understand that this is a time to clean their house.
Right.
It just suggests, Einstein's definition of insanity was doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result.